I died in a bar of a heart attack, full of laughter. And we were having a cabbage competition. And I was very confident that for once I was going to win this vegetable competition. And somebody made a bet with me that was so lewd that I took it on, and he shook my hand, and I laughed so much I was sick and died.
Welcome to Freaky Fandoms. I am Andrew.
And I am Deborah.
And tonight we are celebrating one of our favorite personalities, someone that we felt deserved an entire episode on his own.
And here's the reason why. Today would have been his 81st birthday.
That's right. We're talking about Ollie Reed, folks. One of our favorite actors, one of our favorite characters as a person and a figure. We're celebrating his birthday today.
So real fast.
Yeah.
Birthday cheers to Oliver Reed.
Yeah, Ollie. Excellent.
Ugh.
So where do we start?
God, I don't know. He's just so big. For us, anyway.
Yeah. We're a huge fan of his work. I have more, I don't know, media, I guess you could say, about the Devils than anybody I know.
You have so much Devils stuff.
Yeah. Well,
you're welcome.
You know, I did an episode on it a while back, and we haven't talked about it, but we need to.
Yeah.
The Devils is a very, very big film and study and history for us. But that's not, just because of Ollie. To talk about Ollie Reed,
do you
want
to say what one of your what one of your Christmas presents was this year?
Oh, the hanging on the wall art portrait.
So this year for Christmas,
of him as
one
Father
of his
Grandier
presents was I want to say it's a 11 by 7-inch portrait of Oliver Reed.
Oh no, that's fucking way bigger than that.
Yeah,
no.
It's huge.
Yeah. So that's now hanging in the recording studio bar area where we record each week. Just so you folks know, if you've seen any of the pics of the party wall that's featured on 26 Movies from Hell or any of our stuff that you've seen on Instagram anywhere else, it's right there next to it all, where we play games and have fun.
Yeah.
And
Ollie, he judges us.
Ollie is always looking over us as Father Grandier, and it's great.
So yeah, where do we start?
You tell me. What was your introduction to Ollie? What was your introduction? When did you find out who Oliver Reed was?
So my introduction to Oliver Reed, I was probably 6 or 7.
With what?
Burnt Offerings.
Of course, Burnt Offerings was your first.
Yeah, that was my first. I saw it once when I was like 6 or 7, and then I didn't see it again until I want to say 10 or 11.
Okay.
And it was one that my mom liked a lot, and I never watched it again. And then I was 10 or 11 and rediscovered it with my mother and was like, Mom, this is actually a good movie.
It is one of the best summertime horror movies ever made.
It's the perfect.
It really is.
That and The Other.
Yeah.
Not The Others.
Yeah.
The Other. Those are movies that I love. I love to watch The Other and Burnt Offerings. During the hottest day in the summer.
Burnt Offerings is super fucking special. And it also features some of our favorite cast of characters too. Not only talking about Betty Davis, Burgess Meredith.
Friggin' Karen Black.
And the fucking kid who wound up in one of our favorite Halloween movies, The Midnight Hour.
Oh my God, I forgot that was him. He was Disco
Fucking-
Dracula.
He was Disco Bowie Dracula. Yep. Bobby.
Oh my god.
From fucking Dead of Night.
So yeah,
Yes.
my introduction to Ollie Reed was as a kid watching Burnt Offerings, and I was just like, this guy's freaking awesome. This is a great movie. And then I never really saw any more of his movies until you and I got together.
Okay.
And it wasn't like, you're like, oh, you got to watch more movies with this guy in it. It
Yeah.
was just, we started watching more movies
And
and
he
he
started popping
started
up.
popping
Yeah. That makes complete sense because, you know, I'm a Ken Russell fan. And I didn't realize how much of a relationship that Oliver Reed and Ken Russell had until I was much older. And I had learned more about Ollie Reed and I had learned more about, you know, the director Ken Russell, and I'd actually finally been able to fucking see The Devils thanks to you.
You're welcome.
Because before you, I'd never seen the movie at all. I'd only known it as lore.
And I didn't even see it, and I just heard you talking about it all the time, and
Yeah.
I had to do I ordered it, and it took 9 months
Oh, I know where you got it.
to
Yeah.
get shipped to the house, and then I found the book, and
Yeah.
then I found more things.
The thing is like everybody wants The Devils to be available. And it was.
It was.
For a very short amount of time through Shudder and Time Warner, because Shudder is owned by, I'm sorry, not Time Warner, but whatever the fuck his name is, who owns the same company that
Warner?
Adult Swim is.
Oh, yeah.
The crazy
Anyway.
Southern guy from Atlanta. Regardless, Turner. So, thanks to that small window of time, we actually got to see The Devils in HD
And
uncut.
unedited.
However, the Rape of Christ was still exhumed from the film.
Which is the best part, because
Especially if
we
you
ended up
overlay-
finding it. We ended up finding it, and it was the best fucking scene I've ever seen in a movie ever.
Even with the Benny Hill.
Oh, when you did that.
So, all that aside, folks, yes, The Devils is one that we have really connected on, but that's not the only Ollie Reed that we've connected on. There's so many
it's
more.
just gone. The train has left the station at full speed.
Well, let me say real quick, the first Oliver Reed film performance that I knew of, and this is funny because it's something for me. There are some actors out there who rub me the wrong way when I'm a kid, like Bill Paxton. When I saw Bill Paxton as a kid in a couple of different movies, I was like, this guy's a fucking asshole. When I saw Oliver Reed in Tommy, I was like, this guy is a fucking asshole.
And then you grew up.
Yes, because as a grown adult, I realize
That he's still an asshole, but
it is such a good fucking performance. It is next level incredible work.
yeah.
It is. Oliver Reed and Tommy, we haven't watched Tommy.
No.
I have not had you watch the film in its entirety because there is a stigma.
There's not a stigma. I just think it's stupid and boring, and the songs aren't good, and I fall asleep.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's it.
For me, Tommy is one of those things that I saw very young, and I still have an inkling to revisit. So at some point, maybe we can get past the bullshit of the classic rock Who popularity and actually dig in.
That's not what it is. I just said that it just doesn't sound good to me.
Fair enough. Getting past Tommy. Oliver Reed is one of those special actors who we really believe made a great impact in his life during his time. We wish he was still around. He would have been in his early 80s. Today would have been his 81st birthday.
Yep.
We miss him.
We know that he wasn't entirely a good guy. He
fucked up.
He did fuck up.
Yeah.
Frequently.
Yeah, he had personal problems. He had marital problems. He did dumb shit.
All the time. We still love him.
We do.
Yeah. I don't know why. He just exudes this amazingness for me.
He has
this don't fuck with me because you don't know who you're fucking with.
That's true. He has an excellent sense of character. And the thing is too, they say Hellraiser and
people don't know what Hellraiser was.
Yeah, because there were the big four of the time in the 70s.
Richard Harris.
Yep, Richard Burton, Peter O'Toole,
and Oliver Reed.
And Ollie.
Yeah.
And there were a few who tried to come later on.
And no, those were the original four.
Yeah. And it was a very unique time. It was the end of the 60s, throughout the 70s. It tapered off in the early 80s, but there was a time when you had these guys
that were famous and actors,
and they didn't give a fuck. They were more punk rock than punk rock.
They would be like, okay, so I'm going to be on set completely blitzed, and then I'm going to go to the pub and drink everyone out of the table and start pub fights.
See, that's the thing.
And then they did this, and then they got an hour of sleep and did the same thing the next day for months. Like, these people were like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to fucking fight you, and I'm going to drink you under the table.
See, my favorite thing about knowing what Oliver Reed's background was that he loved to get fucked up. But when he had a role, when he had an upcoming film, he would stone cold sober learn every aspect of the script for at least 3 months prior to call. And when it was time, he would completely lock in. He would still get wild after shooting. But to get prepared, he was incredibly studious. He was one of those people who dedicated himself fully to the craft.
And you can tell.
And at the same time, he was also very, self-aware that he didn't believe in himself as a...
Well, there was
not stage, but theater actor.
There was an interview with him when
non-camera actor.
The interviewer was asking him, he's like, well, you come from a family of actors, and how does it feel to be a theater actor and be
he came from royalty. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, how does it feel being able to hold that up and hold that candle with the people in your past? And he's like, I suck. Or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, he was very conscious of his ability.
I believe he was very confident, but he was also very self-conscious.
Yeah.
And he did lack a little bit of confidence in his abilities.
Well, he was never a theatrically trained actor.
He didn't
was
have
never
to be.
A
it was just natural.
Actor.
It was just natural.
He was natural for the camera.
Yeah.
But he never wanted to be on any stage performing Shakespeare or doing any of the classical English trained work. That wasn't his field. What he was a performer. He wanted to be out there. So he started with a lot of Hammer Productions. Basically,
like you do.
He got his foot in the door by literally camping out in front of producers' houses. And if it weren't for his family background, he might not have ever even gotten the earliest of chances. But he wound up in the fucking Hammer trenches with the likes of some of the greats. Christopher Lee, fucking Cushing.
Yep.
You know? And it's incredible because those guys let him know that you didn't always have to overact. You could
just be.
You could be, and you could have presence. And that's what Ollie had.
He had so much presence. Anytime we see him in a movie, he just steals your eyes from everybody. And he makes
he
you
does.
feel. He really does. So, what are we going to go to next? Are we going to talk about how we watched Hired to Kill just now?
We could talk about Hard to Kill. We could talk about ZPG.
Let's get Hired to Kill out of the way. Don't watch the movie.
There's a very funny story about Hired to Kill, and this is a film from his later years, because Ollie went through phases. Ollie went through his cool guy on the edge phase
to Sexy Dad. In
the 80s? When you're talking about the
he was always a sexy dad.
especially when Burn Offerings hit. He was the sexy dad. So he went from that to disheveled, kerfluffled. I don't know exactly what to say when he was at the point where it was.
Give me a movie reference.
Hired to Kill, obviously, because that was mid 80s, late 80s.
Disheveled, kind of fading, and then he went to I'll just do anything.
He kind of did.
Yeah.
I think he peaked in the
70s and 80s, yeah.
And the early 80s, definitely. I think in the 90s, he was doing whatever he could really get his hands on. There was, gore and Pit and the Pendulum, he's in there for just a minute, but it's amazing.
So, Hired to, what's the funny...
Oh, Train to Kill. What we just watched, Hired to Kill.
Yeah. What is the big story about that?
When he makes out with Brian Thompson?
When he makes out with Brian Thompson, what happened?
So this is really fucking funny because this is a notorious story with the actor Brian Thompson, who shows up in the first Terminator and Alien Nation and multiple other movies, especially through the 80s and early 90s. He played a role opposite Ollie Reed when Ollie was a dictator of a South American country.
Yeah. In the middle of a revolution, and there was this whole secret agent, double agent, double agent, triple agent. It was ridiculous.
Did Ollie's great 80s run end with The Brood?
We're not onto that. Tell us the story.
Okay. So there's a moment in the film where Ollie tests Brian Thompson's sexuality.
Because he's straight, but he's supposed to be gay.
Because it's double secret super.
That's the covers. He's a gay fashion designer.
So Ollie grabs him by the junk, and Brian Thompson leaves him for a kiss. And Thompson says, every time anybody asks him about it, it was my first on-camera same-sex kiss.
First?
Yeah, that's what he says. That's what he said. It was his very first. And the rumor is that Ollie played the same prank on him that he played in the pub because Ollie was a pub guy. He was always about drinking with friends and having fun. He even built a pub in his house.
You can tell he was a pub guy because up until a certain point, his face was fine, and then all of a sudden he got fucking glass.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a minute. That came after Wolfman. That came after his Curse of the Werewolf.
I love that movie.
It's so good.
Anyway, so what's his pub trick?
His pub trick was
so bad.
If you're challenged, if you are having to kiss another guy, what Ollie would do, he would fill his mouth with Coleman's English mustard and cigarette butts.
That's fucking disgusting. Because the whole time I'm sitting there and I'm like, he looks like he's not okay. Talk about Ollie, because just think about holding that.
He's got that sort of sickly, kind of greenish turning face.
Yeah. Because Coleman, that shit's spicy.
See, the thing
Right,
is...
and I'm not going to be like, oh, she's a white girl. She doesn't know spicy food. No, I know spicy food. Coleman's mustard is spicy.
It is very unpleasant, especially
It's like
combined
it's the
with...
English wasabi.
So that happened, and if you ever happen to go to a con and talk to Brian Thompson and you're, discussing Terminator with him and hanging out with Arnold and Bill Paxton and
Bring up
any
Ollie
other
Reed.
stuff, bring up his scene with Ollie from
Hired to Kill,
which I think is available on Arrow. I think Arrow released it.
I think so.
But now it's on Amazon Prime, so you can watch it for free if you have a subscription, so that's fun. I would say skip it. Except for a couple of key scenes. Gozer.
So there's a fashion model. It's not really the girl that plays Gozer from Ghostbusters, but that's what she looks like to me, and so that's what we called her throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, she was our favorite of the ensemble cast, for sure. But this was just a drop in the bucket of the kind of crazy shit that Ollie Reed would do throughout his career.
One of my favorite things that Ollie Reed would do, and I'm going to take a sip.
Please. Talk about the favorite things of
And I want to do this when I get into my quote
Sir Oliver Reed.
I want to do this when I get to my quote eccentric age.
Okay, then.
He would get absolutely trashed and hide garden gnomes around his estate.
Yes.
And then the next day, invite people over, get trashed again, and force everyone to go on a gnome hunt.
Yes.
Where you had to drink and find all of the gnomes that he hid. That's my favorite thing he did.
I love the fact that he would get everyone to go gnome hunting.
Yeah.
That's
You're gonna go gnome hunting. That's what we're doing tonight.
No, the thing is that Oliver Reed was, at his heart, a prankster. He loved having fun.
That's probably why you like him so much, because you're such a jerk sometimes.
Well, the thing is that
you put a fake spider on my toothbrush and in my sink on my birthday.
I imagine that's true. I believe that to be something I probably did.
And I'm terrified of spiders. So immediately it's like, I can't brush my teeth.
I will be honest, there are a few plastic spiders floating around the house that I occasionally toss under door cracks.
Yeah.
For fun. But what he would do, he would take it to extremes. There would be times when, it was all fun and games, like the estate house that he eventually had after he had accrued enough fame to really, get what he wanted out of a residence with, I think, his first and then his second wife, I believe. What he did was, on the road leading up to his house, he put, I think it was a giant fucking rhino.
Yeah. No, it was a rhino.
Was it a rhino or a hippo?
Ooh.
Either way, you would drive up to his house, and if you were a bit drunk or, you didn't really know what to expect,
see it there.
You would see this giant fucking thing, and you'd be like, oh God! And some people would accidentally drive off into the ditch. And then they would go to the pub at the house and have fun. And sometimes he would pull a rifle off of the wall and shoot at you.
That's not funny.
It's not.
Yeah.
It is not.
So
there were times when it
way.
went extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about the rhino or the hippo made me think about, I don't remember what movie it was on, but he worked with a baby elephant on a movie, and they became best friends, and he would actually sleep with this baby elephant and play with her. And on the last day of shooting, he was saying goodbye to her, and she actually started crying and throwing a fit and trampling because she didn't want Ollie to leave.
Yeah, and he wanted to keep her, and he wasn't able to, and that was a sad moment, but You know, this was a guy who was...
He was an asshole and fucked a lot of shit up, but he was also at the same time caring.
He was.
Yeah.
He was good-hearted and self-destructive and
Belligerent.
hurtful and
we look up to him.
you know, he was a special kind of human being that,
Yeah.
you know, did a lot for many, but also had a lot of flaws.
Oh yeah.
And it is what it is. But I think when it comes down to it, I am happy that he was able to have the career that he did, so we could actually look back on some of the performances of his that are actually inspiring.
Like Burn Offerings. That's an
Yeah.
inspiring performance.
Well, let's start with the early stuff.
The
Let's start with
Brood
his
is-
Hammer stuff.
The Brood is inspiring.
I want to get to both.
Well, I'm
but
not really too familiar with his Hammer stuff. Like, for me, if I were to go back,
let's
like,
talk about Curse of the Werewolf.
which happened first, Curse of the Werewolf or ZBG?
Curse of the Werewolf happened first.
Really?
ZPG happened after he got glassed.
So Curse of the Werewolf, we've actually discussed. We did that for part of our 60 Days of Halloween. So, folks,
We did.
refer back to one of those episodes. Not gonna tell you, it's a mystery.
Listen to all four and email us at ScruffMcGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 60652, and we might send you back a trifold
God.
flyer.
Well, I know it's not week
Fucking
3
no.
because week 3.
No, I'm sure it's week 1.
It's like it's gotta be week 1.
Yeah. But Curse of the Werewolf is excellent. It's an incredibly good fucking movie.
It made
and
me-
arguably one of my favorite werewolf films.
Oh, fuck yeah. It's like, all right, so I got into this thing where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I am not a huge werewolf fan. I'm just
Yeah.
not. But this year I watched, 10 werewolf movies?
You know, I think 2018 was the year of the werewolf.
But we found some really good ones.
Like Bad Moon.
Bad Moon!
Fuck yeah.
But Curse of the Werewolf was one that I saw a few years ago and knew that I liked.
Sure.
And it still holds up.
It does. It does. It's excellent. It's one of those classic horror films that is so close to being a Universal monster movie.
Without being Universal Monster.
See, the thing is like, I will hold Curse of the Werewolf up to the werewolf, the Wolfman.
Yeah.
You know, with fucking Lon Chaney Jr.
Oh, no, it's better than that.
I agree. Because the Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. has
It's fine.
a lot of flaws. It's got a lot of great stuff going on.
And we like to make fun
Bella's
of
in
it.
there. We fucking love trashing that goddamn movie. But there's so much heart in Curse of the Werewolf. There's so much of a folklore story.
Mm-hmm.
There's, the opening with the
Like
werewolf.
telling you, it's like a 30-minute opening of the
beggar,
the backstory before. It's like, here's the beggar and the woman and all this kind of stuff, and he rapes her and they have a baby together, and it's 30 minutes in, and then
And
that
it's
baby
horror.
becomes Ollie Reed.
Yeah. It's a fucking...
They spend a lot of time on the
disturbing setup.
backstory.
But it's effective. And
It
it
is.
works. It works so well. And then Ollie Reed's character is so
He's
troubled.
likable. He's troubled but likable.
Yeah, and this was during a time when he was doing bit parts for Hammer movies.
Yeah.
Like being pirate thug number 5 and shit like that. I mean, he was just throwing in on anything he could get.
Which is what you do.
And he got this as a leading role, and then he got cocky. And a couple years after that, he got into an argument at a pub and got a fucking pint glass shoved in his goddamn face.
Not just shoved, shattered on his face.
Yeah. Badly. Like,
So, yeah,
if
that's
you-
why
if
getting-
you've seen that bit in Trainspotting.
Yeah, that's what being glassed is someone
Yeah.
breaks a glass on your face.
Yeah. Or breaks the glass on the bar and
And then
shoves
shoves
the
it in
broken
your
glass
face.
in your goddamn mug.
Yeah.
So when you see Ollie Reed after the late 60s, early 70s,
Has a prominent scar.
and I forget, I think it's down
Left
his...
side.
It is on his left?
I think it's on his left side, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because it's the right hook. Like
Yeah.
somebody...
Right hooked him.
Right into him?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ollie Reed's scar is one of those things that in some films it's very prominent, in other films it's kind of subdued with makeup or lighting. It works. It kind of works for him depending on the role.
Yeah.
It's a terrible, like, not disability, but mutilation.
It's a disfigurement.
It's a gnarly disfigurement, but you know that's part of his character.
Yeah.
That it's him showing his flaw literally on his face.
I like him post-glassing.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about some ZPG?
Yes.
Do we want to talk about... So ZPG
'Cause
is fucking amazing.
Not many people know about ZPG.
Yes. Zero population growth.
It's amazing, and that's what we knew. All right. Unpopular opinion. ZPG needs to happen. Now. My
Do
two
go
cents.
on.
All right, so ZPG or zero population growth
Baby! Baby!
is in a dystopian future where there are
Yes.
no animals, there are no plants, all food is artificial, there's no water. And the government has decided that because the world is vastly overpopulated, any child under the age of 3 is to be euthanized, and all pregnant women must be aborted. No, the ones that are pregnant can still have their babies.
It has to be approved.
But it has to be approved. If it's
Yes.
not approved, it has to be aborted. And then no woman is allowed to get pregnant and give birth to a child for the next 20 years at least.
Yeah, it's a lock on...
You can't reproduce. There's too many people.
So Ollie and his wife work in a government museum that shows what it was like before the world became toxic and
Here's
the
what
air became unbreathable.
Here's what a cat looked like.
Here's what mushrooms were. Here's what trees were.
Oh, yeah, because there's no clean air. You have to go out with a mask and all this kind of stuff, and everything's foggy and you can't see because it's so really populated.
It's a very like
polluted.
70s vision of the post-apocalyptic world
It's-
that we're talking about, like Logan's Run. We're
It's gonna
talking
happen.
about...
It's gonna happen.
We'll see. We'll fucking see. But this film is an incredible movie with one of my favorite Ollie Reed moments where he is being
In the
tortured
library?
in a goddamn library.
Okay, so this is what happens. So they're pretty high up on the spectrum of things. They get extra meal tablets. They're able to go out for meal tablet dinners, which are like super rare.
Fresh air, fresh water.
Fresh air, fresh water, in their apartment, which is not a thing that happens. So they're really well to do. And he's like, no, we got to stick to this. Wife, after having sex one night, decides not to go to the abortion heat ray machine and gets pregnant.
Everything falls apart after that. And what's even worse is their best fucking friends start hunting them so they can get the credits for the clean air, clean water, and fresh food.
Because if you know someone who has a baby and it's under a certain age and you're not supposed to have a baby, you can oust that person, get their child killed, get them thrown in jail, and get everything that they had.
All right, I'm going to cut it right here. We're doing a show on ZPG.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, folks, eventually we will talk about ZPG. We'll talk about the film with Ollie Reed. We will talk about the book that the film was based on, and we will dig into how this is culturally relevant and we will see if we can find some folks out there who are hardcore fans.
We might know a few.
Yeah. So, Tommy, something that you're not too into, something that I'm very familiar with. The other stuff with Ken Russell, we've talked extensively about The Devils, but you and I will be doing a follow-up on The Devils, for sure. We haven't talked about Women in Love. We haven't talked about any of the other ones. Fucking the story from Women in Love, where Ollie Reed
Can we talk about how he was in the Pendulum for like 3 minutes, and then I came up with the best alternate ending.
Let's move on to the 80s. So let's talk about Ollie when he started showing up in full moon features.
So he started showing up in full moon features, and it was always like 5-10 minute bullshit.
Yeah, because they would fly him out to Italy or Spain. They would get him fucked up with Orson Welles. And Orson Welles would skip on the goddamn check.
For real, he would.
This would happen.
This is real.
Orson Welles would drink 6 or 7 bottles of wine, eat 3 or 4 entrees, and have friends with him, including Ollie and others. And eventually, he would say, I need to go to the bathroom. And disappear. So Ollie called him out on that shit. There's an amazing special feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this did happen.
It's the interview where they get together after
with
a
Charo?
while, and with Charo, yes.
Yeah, it was on Merv. You can see it on the Brood Criterion Collection Blu-ray. On Merv, Ollie called Orson Welles out, and it was the best shit ever. It's so good.
Oh, man.
But yes, Ollie showed up in the Pit and the Pendulum with Lance fucking Henriksen.
But what they did was so Pit and the Pendulum, Edgar Allan Poe, duh.
Yeah.
They brought in Ollie Reed and turned it in for just the amount of time that he was there.
Yep.
They turned it into Casa of Amontillado.
Yeah, they did. And they even mentioned that in the scene.
And they mentioned it in the scene.
It's like Amontillado wine. That's really good.
And so you've read the book or you've heard it. You know what happens. So my alternate ending, because like he gets walled up and everything. So we love that movie to death. And I was just like, wouldn't it be amazing if they panned back to the wine cellar and just showed wine bottles like completely empty and some dripping on the ground, and then panned to the wall that he was boarded up in, and there's just a silhouette bust out of Ollie Reed.
Mm-hmm. It'd be so good, because...
And it's appropriate.
Yeah, he just... This is the stinger
so
at the end of the credits.
It doesn't happen. It's not real, but it's real.
I wish... Because the thing is if we can get a crew together...
I will fucking do it. I will do it.
If we can shoot on the same film stock and get a construction team to make that scene, we'll make it fucking happen. It'll be... the best.
And then we'll edit it into the film, and we will live happily ever after.
Let's talk about the Brood real quick, and then we'll skip a couple of things, and then we'll talk about his untimely passing.
Ugh.
One thing I want to talk about is the Brood is one of the greatest Oliver Reed movies
ever
of
made.
all time. Really quickly, though, I want to mention Venom, where it's Ollie versus Klaus Kinski. That shit is fucking amazing.
So yeah, now it's time to talk about Ollie and Cloud Kinski.
Yeah, because fucking Venom is crazy. It's so goddamn good. It's one of those movies I had no idea was...
You told me that there was a fucking feud between those two.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it, fine, yeah. And then I watched it. Boo! God, you can feel the tension.
I love just how you can see the scenes between Ollie and Klaus Kinski.
It's
and
so
they
bad.
Are just glaring at each other.
They hate each other.
Well, the thing is that, like, there's this notorious scene where, and the setup is that Venom is a film where
I forgot how much I like Venom until just now.
it's really enjoyable.
You know, I've seen it a couple times, but I'm like, I never think about it. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, it's a hostage movie where they do kind of a home invasion, and they take a kid who is I think English consulate's or some other high-end...
I think it's the English consulate's son, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. The ambassador, whatever it is. Son hostage for a ransom.
And the son loves reptiles and has an extensive reptile collection.
And the grandfather is a big game hunter from the safari who has a huge notoriety. So what Klaus Kinski does is he sort of plays on that and says, "Oh, I would like to do a documentary about you. I would love to meet up." And the thing is that Oliver Reed is the family
Chauffeur.
Yes. And
valet.
The butler, what have you, and then he's in on the whole scheme with the maid. And when Klaus Kinski shows up and Oliver Reed goes to pick him up at the airport, already the tension is high and it's amazing on screen. And this is a Handmade Films movie too, from the same team that brought us Withnell and I, and Withnell and I, and Time Bandits.
You knew if you didn't correct that.
I almost said Withnell.
Because we've been speaking German all night.
So, the fact of the matter is that this movie is fucking special as hell. And when you watch it, you will see so many people show up in this film that... I mean, Bricktop is in this goddamn movie.
Oh my god.
For 2 seconds as a snake specialist, because a black mamba, the most deadliest snake, the most poisonous snake in the world, gets loose in this goddamn flat. Mm-hmm. So, the scene that's the most funny and has the most notoriety out of Ollie's biography is when Oliver Reed and Klaus Kinski are literally trying to enter a scene through a doorway, and they are fighting each other.
Like, fighting.
And shoving each other out of the way because both of them want to enter first.
It's so good.
It is the most childish, ridiculous shit, and it's amazingly funny, and it just makes me so happy to know about that. But that is one thing I would like to mention is that the Oliver Reed bio, What Fresh Hell Is This? Is incredible. The biographies about the making of The Devils are absolutely worth reading and hearing. They're amazing. This is a figure who, you know, he lived so big, and God, he did so much controversial and dumb shit, especially in his public appearances. Like, fuck, that time that he went against Shelley Winters.
Oh, where he was being a complete gentleman towards her, and she was losing her fucking shit because she's Shelley Winters, and I'm leaving it at that. And
she poured booze.
Yeah, she literally comes from back, like she leaves, is gone for a bit, lets him say what he's got to say, and then interrupts him, comes back on, and pours, like, I think whiskey on his head.
Yeah, and he called it out too.
The whole time, he's not being, like, vastly rude to her. She's being a bitch and being condescending and interruptive, and he's just like, lady, please.
Well, you know,
let me finish.
After that, he stopped giving a shit about talk show appearances.
Yeah.
He would show up and he would fuck off. He would pretend to be excessively drunk. There are theories that he would get a little lit, but he would go to excess just to make it seem like he was, you know, more half in the bag than he really was. A lot of people said that he would try to force comedy, but he was...
I don't really see that.
He was a comic genius.
Yeah.
Like,
but
when
anyway,
he did a deadpan delivery, he was fucking perfect.
Shelley Winters poured alcohol on his head for no fucking reason, and it was stupid. And you could tell that he was about to, like, deck a bitch. But he was cool. He was calm.
He was a sir. One of my favorite stories is during the making of The Brood.
Oh, no.
When they were filming, I think, in Toronto.
Yeah, it was Toronto.
And he was terrorizing Samantha Eggers. Who I love. I love Samantha Eggers. She's amazing in The Brood. She's incredible in Demonoid. She is a great actress. She is one of the best of the entire cast of Curtains. She's fucking amazing.
Well, that's hard to say, though.
When you're looking at her compared to a couple of other cast members, especially the one from Black Christmas, we'll get into that later. We will talk about Curtains
I'm like,
later.
I am not going to say anything about Curtains because that's an entire conversation.
That's an entire show.
Yeah.
So a Winter Wonderland special on Curtains will happen eventually.
Yes.
Because it is one of the greatest goddamn 1983 winter slasher horror films of all fucking time. It's fantastic.
So how is he,
During The Brood?
Yeah.
He decided it would be fun to get drunk and go surfing down the hotel hallways on a fucking bell cart. So he grabbed one of the goddamn room service carts and he just flung himself on top of it, screaming past the rooms, just flying down the hallways and having fun. And Samantha Egger complained and said, I cannot stay in this goddamn hotel with this maniac.
Why didn't she join him?
I know, because they could have had so much fun. And apparently they'd had a history before, and I don't know all the details exactly, but she basically told David Cronenberg's team that she would not finish the film unless she moved to another hotel. So, Ollie kept doing his thing.
This is my thing. I understand that when you're around someone who goes way above and beyond and just to excess,
sure,
especially when it comes to alcohol, it could be very hard to deal with a person. But if they aren't doing anything malicious, I don't see what the big deal in being like, fuck it, let them have fun is. Or
put in some earplugs.
Put in some earplugs, put on your headphones, take a bath and put your ears in the water.
Yeah, sure.
Like, you can do that, or you could be like, fuck it, let me see what he's about, and do it with him.
Well, not only that, is that when Ollie decided to take his antics into the street, he got drunk and he ran around wintry Toronto naked and got picked up by the cops, and they realized that it was Oliver Reed and escorted him back to his hotel and said, here you go, Mr. Reed. Try to keep it decent. And that kind of shit would just happen. And the stories about him and Keith Moon from The Who, like, I know you're not into Tommy, but we might discuss that with our friends Bradley and Dan at some point, because they have talked about possibly digging into Tommy.
Like I said, it's not because I don't like The Who, even though I don't like The Who.
Yeah, sure.
It's not because of that. It's just I don't connect with the songs. They aren't catchy. They sound like plinky plonk plonk plonk. They sound like that to me.
It sound like what episode of Mr. Show? It's like
exactly.
Bob going go plinky plank plonk plinky plonk plonk.
That's an assault on Mr. Show.
Well, fair enough. Sorry, shots fired at Bob and David. So let's get to the biggest deal about the whole thing.
How Gladiator killed him.
Well, you know,
It did. Gladiator killed him.
the thing about Ollie was that he always had a love for the military and people who served to protect different countries and
Protectors.
defenders.
Defenders.
He was one of those people who
He
would
was-
be in the pub and he would buy around for all of the soldiers and
Yeah.
all of the Navy and everybody. He really had that kind of a honor
Yeah.
to him. He just did. Because he believed in that, but for the right reasons. The thing was that he also had an extremely competitive fucking nature.
And it caught up to him one day.
Badly. What was he, 69 when that happened? Was
Yeah,
he...
I think it was 69.
Well, it happened in like 1999 or something like
yeah,
that.
and I believe that it wasn't just his competitive nature. I think it was his competitive nature with alcoholism was very dangerous and was gonna catch up to him eventually.
Yeah.
But I do believe that it was also the requirements that the film Gladiator put on him because they seem to be a little bit more strict with him.
Well, yeah, that is something too, is that a lot of the times he would take contracts where he would be able to cut loose.
It's like you can cut loose, and then when we need to film, you need to cut it out for a few hours and do your job. And he's like, yeah, fine. With this, I think they made him stop completely. So when he was able to cut loose, he
went way too big.
He went way too big.
Well, it was a Ridley Scott production.
And I'm not saying they killed
taxing.
him. I'm just saying that his body was used to a certain way.
Right.
And then at an old age, they made his body stop doing things that way.
Well, the reality of the matter is that he had downed 3 bottles, allegedly. Of rum. Mm-hmm. They say that it was Captain Morgan's. I
don't see him drinking.
I don't either. I mean, he seemed to be very much a...
But maybe that's all he could get.
And that's true. I mean... The thing is that...
We don't know. All I know is I love him to death, but he was an alcoholic.
Yeah, and the thing was that, he would stop for work, and then he would go back to having fun. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that devastated him the most was the death of Keith Moon.
Yeah,
because
that really messed him up.
He was one of his absolute best friends.
Yeah.
And it really fucked him up hard. And it's a fucked up, weird relative thing to think about. But I'm also thinking about like Bam and Ryan Dunn, to a degree.
Oh, how Bam is now after Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, how when someone passes away,
it will just
who is so close to you,
it will just ruin your life.
Yeah. So that was really, really tough on Ollie, and just devastating. Oh. But Gladiator was supposed to be his comeback. Gladiator was supposed to be his resurgence back into the popular culture zeitgeist. Everyone was excited for Ollie Reed to come back.
And then he died.
He got into a competitive drinking match with about 5 or 6 Navy guys, I think out of Australia. I
think so.
Yeah. I don't think they were Pommies. I think they were there during the shoot. And he had tacked up roughly a $500
bill.
USD, bill for his lunch.
Because he was told, you can't do this.
Yeah.
And he was so used to doing it, so when he was able to, he just went way too overboard because he was just trying to catch up to his normal body limits.
And the tale is that he literally laid down on the bar table and died.
We don't know this. We weren't there.
Yeah. But that's what they say. He went into cardiac arrest after drinking more than his body could handle, and he passed. But what the production of Gladiator has made public is that to finish his scenes,
they actually digitally rendered his image.
Yeah, so he was one of the first people to posthumously be thrown into a film, and now we can look at Star Wars films and say that they all
you were gonna fucking
have a hint of the ghost.
No, he died.
Let's not talk about that.
He died during Gladiator. They couldn't finish the movie because he was dead, so they digitally rendered his voice and image
let's
to
talk about
finish
the amount.
The film.
They said it cost $3
like
million fucking dollars.
$3 million.
Yeah, $3 million in 99, 2000, whatever it was, to get him into the film for the scenes that he wasn't able to finish.
Here's the thing. His death, honestly, is probably how he was going to go out anyway.
In a bit of a blaze of fucking glory, right?
In a drunken blaze of competitive glory. That's just how he was going to do it. Here's the thing. For Gladiator...
For that piece of shit.
For that piece of shit.
See, that's another thing. That's why I bring up Star Wars, because they fucking put goddamn Peter Cushing into one of those fucking movies.
How I'm looking at you.
I do. An audience, if you could see how Deborah's looking at me, she's extremely pissed because I'm bringing up Cushing.
Here's the thing.
During all this.
Here's the thing. So you think we're a loving, happy couple who have a lot in common. He's a Star Wars fan and I'm a Star Trek fan. So there's that.
Yeah. Like I'm a, Rancor guy and she's into Data. Like that's the thing of where we're at.
I love you.
Yeah. Cheers. To fucking Ollie.
To Ollie.
Yeah.
81.
Yeah. To Ollie Reed. God damn it.
So as you can see, we or hear more like
until we do streaming
eventually. We know this guy was fucked up. We know he had a lot of problems. We know that we shouldn't idolize him.
I disagree.
Hold on. But we do, and this is the reason why. I don't think we idolize him for the wrong reasons. I think we idolize him for his love of life and his carefree sensibilities.
I agree.
And how true to himself he actually was. Because he was never like, oh no, that's not me. He's like, this is me.
There is no way I could not look up to someone who was capable of making the Devils.
Yeah. I know the Devils is huge.
That
may be the hugest thing in this entire, for you, that I know you. I know you. I'm saying the Devils is big. I know this.
A little bit.
You have that portrait from the Devils.
I do. And that wasn't the only Devils-related Christmas present I got this year. And it's not the only Devils-related Christmas present I've gotten in the last couple of Christmases. So, for this episode, folks, thank you for listening to us talk about Oliver Reed. We have had a very good time thinking about one of our favorite people, one of our favorite actors.
And the thing is we haven't even really gone that deep into him.
We just kind of did an overview. We kind of touched on a few things. Do we need to do an Ollie Reed part 2?
No, we don't
in a year or two.
No, but
should we start digging into specific?
No, we should dig into specific movies.
Yeah.
But those would be those movies episodes.
Yeah.
But if you want to be like, hey, I'm an Ollie Reed fan too, we will totally love to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Or if you have any questions, we will try to answer them.
Yeah, hit us up on Patreon. Hit us up on the freakyfandomspodcast.com site. Get us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of our places. we would love to hear your input. Your favorite Oliver Reed performances. Ones we mentioned, ones we didn't mention. Ones that are such deep cut, ridiculous stuff. Because he did so much good schlock.
Can I mention this real quick?
Please.
About how we love Burnt Offerings and
Yes.
Ollie's and Betty's so much.
Oh my God.
That when we went on the trip that you ended up proposing to me at.
Oh yeah.
We were at Universal Studios and we went on the ET ride. And when you go on the ET ride, they ask you for your name so they can give you a name badge. And Andrew was like, they're like, name. Andrew's like, Ollie. And I was like, Betty.
So good.
So that's how much we do that. It's like if we have to give fake names or we're being asked for our names and we want it to be goofy and funny and something to remember, we're Ollie and Betty.
Yeah, that's because we have had so many times where you and I have been laying in bed together and all of a sudden a terrifying chauffeur busts through the door while you're about to die.
He's not a chauffeur.
And I'm scared.
He's not a chauffeur. He's a hearse driver.
A hearse driver is a chauffeur.
For the
For
dead.
the dead, yes. So on that note, folks, thank you for listening to another Freaky Fandoms. We're gearing up for episode 100.
Shout-outs.
Shout-outs to Chet Zar. He just did
His
his
100th
episode
episode.
100 with
Yeah.
Brahm.
Which is insane.
Fuck yeah.
Great
So
job.
good.
Amazing.
So badass. Shout-outs to American McGee as always.
Hey, it's my job.
Then talk about it, please.
Shout out to American McGee. Amazing as always.
Good job. So moving on.
American, we do appreciate everything that you do for us. We will always do what we do for you. And everyone just check out American McGee and Martin. They're working on Alice Asylum. Again, the momentum is just like it's going. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this honestly is not going to happen without the public. If the public doesn't make this happen, it's not going to happen. We just need to give it love and it will be a thing. So please make this thing happen.
Yes. We definitely need the third game in the Alice series.
I need this third game so much.
For real.
It's not fucking funny.
So, more shout outs as well to Seven Key, to Ogre, to our friends over at the badass folklore podcast that we love. It's fucking killing me right now.
Oh, God.
Just because how great it is. But regardless, folks, hit us up across the board. We always share our favorite stuff.
He's Mr. Andrew Hawkins.
Yeah, and you are Asylum in Wonderland.
Asylum.in.wonderland. Yeah.
Yep. So, Bone and Sickle
That's what
is
it is.
what I was trying to get out while I was thinking about amazing dark folklore. Because this show gets better every single episode. I cannot recommend Bone and Sickle enough. Al Ridenauer is doing great work. It's so good to hear Rip the Undertaker, one of our favorite folks, doing his stuff on there. Check out Bone and Sickle, folks. And then
also, if you like watching drunk nerds play video games,
yes,
check out VG Nights. That's Nights with a K. It's my brother Tandon, and I do moderator work sometimes.
Yep.
And
you stream too.
Yeah, I stream too sometimes. And a couple of our other friends, right now, they're really into WoW again. So if you go on there and you troll, like, as long as you're not inappropriate, they're still going to talk to you.
Yeah, ask them about Kingdom Hearts.
Don't you fucking dare. All right, so I'm not disappointed
what was your favorite part with Axel?
I think I'm going to go over there because that looks like a really good spot for ingredients.
Oh no, Zeminort!
I'm going to have to do Kingdom Hearts 3 again. But yeah, check them out. If anything, they are good for a laugh.
Yes. Yes.
But check them out.
Great
and
folks.
we do plan on having Tandos over eventually. So
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So we're going to wrap it up. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to us talk about Oliver Reed on his birthday. We love you, folks. I think it's time to dial out for Freaky Fandoms.
yeah, I think we're Freaky Fandoms.
We're Freaky Fandoms.
Don't drink whiskey.
No!
No!
Yes!
No!
Yes!
I'm your friendly green coat and I welcome you to Bernie's holiday camp. One day and you'll be happy. It's Bernie you will thank. You must be little Tommy. Well, call me Uncle Frank.